Welcome to the Insomnia Project. Sit back, relax, and listen as we have a conversation about the mundane. One thing that we try to do is to have a conversation that will be less than fascinating so that you can just feel free to drift off. Thank you for joining us. We hope you will listen and sleep. Feel free to rate us on iTunes or SoundCloud. And send us a message on Twitter at Listen and Sleep. I'm your host, Marco Timpano, and today's show is brought to you by Casper.com. Go to caspertrial.com/insomnia to get $50 towards any mattress purchased using the promo code 50SLEEP. That's 50SLEEP. And I'm going to talk more about their mattresses later on in this episode because I was actually looking in on their foam mattresses and I just found it interesting because I thought foam mattresses were strictly foam, but I'll get into that later on. You might be wondering who the co-host is. Well, tonight's episode is a solo episode. It's our first solo episode. You just have me tonight. We had a guest scheduled, but they weren't able to make it. So I figured, hey, why not just do what you do, but do it alone? So please let us know what you think of the solo show at Listen and Sleep. I'm your host, Marco Timpano, and I thought I'd talk to you about my day today. I also want to mention, of course, we hope that you won't get to the end of this podcast. I often have friends who will say to me, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I listened to your podcast, but I couldn't get through it. I fell asleep." And they apologize, and I'm like, no, that's the goal of the Insomnia Project, to have you actually get to a place where you're so relaxed or so, I don't know, I guess the word is tuned out, that you're able to just sort of drift off. So that's the point of it. So never apologize if you don't make it through to the end of the episode. But if you do make it to the end of the episode, which is approximately 26 minutes or thereabout, we try to make it that long because that's the perfect amount of time for a short nap. And if you do make it on this journey to the end of the podcast, well, we hope that you were relaxed while you were listening to us talk about various topics we might be talking about. I wanted to mention that today I've been cleaning quite a bit because I have some cousins that are going to be visiting from Italy. They'll be staying with us for a week. And you always want your place to look as lovely as it can be when you have guests. So today I was like, okay, I'm going to get to the floors and I'm really going to clean the hardwood floors that we have. So I went and I took out the Murphy oil and realized that the Murphy oil I had was no longer good. It got kind of glue-like. It was all kind of like, almost like a gelatin of some sort. And I thought, usually Murphy oil is liquid. But I was like, okay, so I'll just go to the store and I'll get some Murphy oil. So I got the Murphy oil and I started to clean the floors, and I just love that smell of, wood polish and wood reviver and wood oils, and there's something about it that I just love the way that feels and smells, and there's just something about it that feels very lush to me. I don't know how else to describe it. So, I really took care, and I waxed and oiled the floors and other pieces of furniture as well. And then I got it in my head that I should probably polish silver, because we have a silver jug, and it was kind of, over time it gets a little bit dark and tarnished. I guess it becomes oxidized. So we have this thing, and I don't know if you've ever seen it. I wish I had it in front of me. I don't. I put it away, but it's this metal plate. And this metal plate you submerge in hot water, and you use an activator. And the activator in the water will allow the metal plate to clean your silver. If you touch your silver, so you submerge it in the water and you touch the metal plate with it, and wherever the water touches your silver, it will make it look new again. And we had purchased this thing years and years ago, and I had almost forgotten about it. And I was like, no, we have something, and I found it. But we didn't have the activator, and the activator in this case is Calgon. You know, that it's like a lot of people use it for whitening their clothes, or it was a detergent, I guess, that people used back in the day, and it's not used as much anymore because there's other things on the market, or at least I don't see it in the stores. I remember there was a commercial where they would say, Calgon, take me away, as they were doing laundry. I don't know exactly what that meant. It's sort of a vague memory I have. In my childhood, there was a commercial where they said, Calgon, take me away. I'm sure if you went to YouTube, you could probably find that exact commercial. Anyways, I was like, okay, I need to get Calgon. So I thought, a dollar store. Generally speaking, dollar stores will have products that you don't see as often in regular supermarkets and whatnot. They did not have Calgon, but I bought the Murphy oil there. So I was like, okay, I'm very fortunate where I live in Toronto because I have an abundance of grocery stores. I actually live between two grocery stores, one that's open 24 hours and one that's open till about 11. And then further down, there's this great grocery store. So I figure, okay, on the way back from the dollar store, I'll stop at the grocery store that's very close to my house. So I did. And of course, they did not have the Calgon detergent that I needed. And I'm going to actually grab it because the detergent is right here. So there's something about Calgon. It's a water softener, if I'm not mistaken, and it says its slogan, I guess, is add to your wash for whiter, brighter clothes. Calgon water softener. So, of course, this store did not have it. And I was like, oh, where would have Calgon? So I knew that there's this other grocery store that's not too far from my house. It's actually down another street. And it's a great grocery store. It's called Fiesta Farms. And I love this grocery store because they have everything. They have local produce, and they have local products, and they have ethnic products. So if you're ever looking for something that an exotic recipe might have, or let's say, I know they have a lot of Portuguese products as well, and they'll have things that are written in other languages and you don't even know what they are, and they'll have specific Italian products, and it's the one grocery store that has an assortment of different mushrooms. You don't see these mushrooms, and I know that a lot of chefs will go there because they have products that you won't find anywhere else. I know that they even have these sort of I saw in a program that they have these, there's this rhubarb that is grown in the dark, so it's kind of pink and sweeter. And I was watching a program, it was a British show, that they were talking about this method of growing this type of rhubarb. I don't remember the name of it. And sure enough, I looked on the computer to see where I would find this rhubarb in Toronto, and Fiesta Farms carries it. Or the cotton candy grapes. I think I mentioned them on an episode in the past. The only place I could find them was Fiesta Farms. Now you can find them in the other grocery stores, but when they sort of first came out, or when I first discovered it, that was the only place. So I said, okay, let me see if Fiesta Farms has it. And I look in the detergent section, and there's nothing, and there's nothing, and I'm like, ugh. And then I kept walking past the detergent section. There was this one section, and sure enough, I find the box of Calgon there at Fiesta Farms. So I was very excited because I was like, oh, great, I found it. I don't have to search. I don't have to order it online. I've got it. And I take it home, fill up a tub, and then you've got to fill up a plastic tub with warm water, dissolve the Calgon in the water, and then I put my first piece of silver, which is this silver water jug, on it. And sure enough, I see it turn its bright silver color. And it made me very happy. The only thing is, it removes quite a bit of the tarnish, but sometimes there's spots that are kind of still tarnishy. And so I had some actual silver polish, which was funny because I didn't realize I even had it. And I was like, oh, I wish I had bought some silver polish just to get these little spots. And as I was putting things away and cleaning up and whatnot and just getting the house ready for my guests that are coming, I find this silver polish. And I have to say, I enjoy polishing silver. It's a really weird thing. I put on a television program. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a moment to watch television and polish silver. And it's sort of one of these, I don't know, mind-numbing things that you can do while you're watching something else. And it gives you, so you're watching a program and you're just kind of like polishing and polishing. And sure, by the end of the program, you've got this really shiny piece of silver, whether it be a candelabra, which I did, I think it's a sugar bowl, and this vase, and I had this really tall cocktail shaker that's silver, and it's a really cool design. And I had actually forgotten I even had it because I have it on sort of a little pedestal that's in a corner of my room that, it's just kind of there. And I had forgotten it, and of course it oxidized, so it got tarnished. And I was like, wow, like this is really, really an awesome item. So I was quite proud of myself getting that done, the floors and the silverware. So, needless to say, I think I'm ready for my guests. They arrive on Friday. We'll see how it goes. But, and then, has this ever happened to you where you don't necessarily think of a topic, or you find out something new about some topic, and all of a sudden, something that you were never aware of, and then all of a sudden you see that topic, or you hear that topic, or you read about that topic everywhere? One of those things sort of happened to me recently, and it's funny because it has to do with insomnia, and I had insomnia the other night, and I was like, oh man, I know that there's a bunch of celebrities that have insomnia. Well, 2 days later, I'm looking online, and there was an article on, you may have heard that Adam West, who played the Batman on the television series Batman, passed away. And so it was talking about the top 15 best villains, or I don't even know what it was. I think it was it was actually the weirdest gadgets that Batman had in his utility belt from the Batman television series. And so, I don't know, I was scrolling through it, I was reading it, and there was this actress named Tallulah Bankhead who I had heard about it and wanted to know more about. So I looked her up on Wikipedia, and it turns out she was an actress who had a very distinct voice, and she suffered from severe insomnia. So I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. So if you do, you sort of have something in common with Tallulah Bankhead.
We live in a culture obsessed with dieting, weight loss, and exercise. And that can make eating disorder behaviors easy to miss. But the reality is, eating disorders are serious mental illnesses that take a major toll on your health and your life. But recovery is possible. Eating disorders are more common than you might think. Chances are you know someone who is struggling with one. Or maybe you're struggling yourself. If you're concerned about an eating disorder in yourself or a loved one, I want to introduce you to Equip. Equip is a fully virtual, evidence-based eating disorder treatment program that helps patients achieve lasting recovery at home. Every Equip patient is matched with a multidisciplinary care team that includes a therapist, dietitian, medical provider, and mentors. And you get a personalized treatment plan that's tailored to your unique goals and challenges. Equip treats patients of all ages and all eating disorder diagnoses. It's covered by insurance, and there's no wait list. If you think that you or a loved one could be struggling with an eating disorder, don't wait to get help. Visit equip.health to learn more. That's equip.health.
Over 90 of the top 100 U.S. accounting firms trust Bill to handle bill pay processes. Why? Because our tools are built on over $1 trillion of secure payments. We're not just moving money. We're powering financial workflows for 500,000 customers. That's a level of expertise you just can't fake. Ready to talk with an expert? Visit Bill.com/proven to get started and grab a $250 gift card as a thank you. Terms and conditions apply. See offer page for details.
From athletic stuff like a full court pickup game, swish, to athletic-ish stuff like a half-mile stroll. Get those steps in. Head to Sierra or Sierra.com for the brands you want at the prices that let you do it all. From athletic to athletic-ish, Sierra's got it.
Now, I had mentioned at the top of the show that I was going to talk about our sponsor, Casper mattresses. Go to caspertrial.com/insomnia and enter the promo code 50sleep, that's 50sleep, and you'll get $50 towards the purchase of any mattress. So I was thinking about our sponsor, and I was thinking, it's foam mattresses because they send it to you in a box, which is great. It arrives right at your door. And I said, I want to know more about this particular foam mattress. So I went on their website, casper.com, and I started to look, thinking it was just like a foam mattress, but there's 4 layers of foam that this particular mattress has. And so it has an open cell foam, which keeps the sleeper or the person who's using the mattress, I don't know what you would call them, the layer down person, keeps them cool, and it adds a little bit of bounce. And then there's another layer, which is the responsive memory foam, and its function is to support memory foam. It's a supportive memory foam, and it also provides pressure relief, which is great. Sometimes, I'll have these, like, my feet will feel really, really heavy from a long day of standing, and I think that's the layer that's really going to help me. The third layer is the adaptive transition foam, which sounds pretty cool. Sounds like something a superhero like Batman would actually use. And this is a layer that provides deep comfort because it helps with weight distribution. And then the final layer is a durable support foam. The support foam strengthens the comfort layers and adds long-lasting durability. So there you go. That's the sort of layers of the mattress you would get if you order a Casper mattress. So I want to thank our sponsor once again. Go to caspertrial.com/insomnia and you can read about these particular layers in more detail and use the promo code to get $50 towards your next mattress. I wanted to mention as well that I used to do a radio program. I studied journalism, radio and television. And at my university, I used to host and produce a radio show with a few other friends. And on occasion, it would be just myself talking into the microphone, and I would see the person who was producing that particular show behind a glass wall. So you could see through the wall, and I could see my colleague and friend on the other side. And I had earphones so that they could talk to me through the earphones, like you would see when you watch television. You see a radio host. Frasier comes to mind, how Frasier and Roz would sort of communicate. So one time, this is a funny story that came to me. We would have guests, and they would come midway through the radio program, the radio show, I should say, that particular show. And we had this one guest, and he was a singer, and he sang like operatic type songs, and he was very excited. And this was in the days where people would have their stuff on tape. So he came in with the tape recording of his music, to which during a commercial break he handed to me, and I gave to my producer, and I said, okay, it's queued up for the track that our guest wants played. And we had a student that day helping out, so I guess my colleague gave it to the student to put so we could record, so we could play the actual track when we mentioned it, when I did the interview with this particular guest of ours. And I recall that the guest was there, and I was interviewing him, and we were talking. I said, okay, now let's take a listen to your song that we just described. And I turn and I look, and on the other side of the glass, the producer's like looking at me like I don't have their songs, and I'm like showing them the tape, and I'm indicating with my fingers like, you know, a tape cassette. And they're just shaking their head. So I'm like, okay. So I said, oh, you know what? We'll go to a commercial break and we'll be right back and we'll listen to your song. To which my guest said, yeah, no problem. So as we go to commercial break, I just turned to my guest and I said, I'll be right back. And I go and I say to my colleague, I'm like, I gave the tape to the co-op student when our guest first arrived, before the show even started. And they're like, I never got the tape. And I look and I notice that that particular show was being recorded on the tape that was given to me. So our show was recording over this gentleman's music. And I was like, oh no. And I couldn't remember if he said it was his demo or his sort of master, which seems strange that he would be walking around with a master, and the master wouldn't be on a cassette. But in the moment, that's where my brain jumped to, and I was like, oh no, we just recorded over his master. So I stopped the cassette and I pressed play, and we were at the end of the song that he was supposed to play, but right after we queued up, there was another song afterwards. So I go into the booth and I say, we're actually going to listen to the track that follows, is that all right? He's like, sure. So we come back for commercial and I ask him to describe the song, and he explains the song that we're going to listen to, and we play it. And as we're playing it, my mic got turned off, and I say to him, and it was like one of those moments where you're like, okay, now I have to be the bearer of bad news. And I said to him, listen, we had a little kerfuffle, and it seems like we taped over your song. We taped our show over your song. And I said, I'm really sorry. I go, please tell me that wasn't your only copy. He's like, no, it's not my master. It's just a copy I have. Don't worry about it. But you know, those moments of what did we just do? And the relief from me when he said, yeah, don't worry about it. I don't know what it was that sort of sparked that memory, but you know, when you're kind of walking or you're just kind of doing something, I think I was like walking in the grocery store when that came to mind. Something must have triggered that sort of thought. The things that go through your mind when you're shopping at a grocery store. That's something else I enjoy doing, along with polishing silverware, which I just discovered. I love going to the grocery store late at night. Because the grocery store near my home is open 24 hours, you know, if I can't sleep or if for whatever reason it's you know, late at night and I want something or I need something for the next day, I'll just go. And there's this interesting aspect to a grocery store when you're there at hours when most people don't go to the grocery store, at like odd hours, let's say. It's a really interesting thing. You see different types of people who are up at those hours, and you kind of have the whole grocery store to yourself. And for some reason, when you have the grocery store to yourself and it's late at night and you have really nowhere to be in no hurry, you kind of wander down the aisles in a different way, and you end up seeing things that you don't necessarily notice, or you might go down an aisle that you wouldn't traditionally go down for some reason. So it might be the aisle that has, I don't know, let's say the organic aisle. And you're like, oh, there's wheat-free this, or there's organic that. Anyways, I always find it fascinating. If you ever get a chance to go to, I know that there's like these superstore, these super Walmarts that are open 24 hours, but if you ever get a chance to go late at night, it can be a somewhat fun excursion that I would invite you to do. Another thing I love to do, and I think I may have mentioned this with Nidhi on one of our episodes, is I love going to fish markets. And so I was watching a program on television, and they happened to be going to a fish market in that show. It was like a sort of a lifestyle show where they go around the world and they'll just like cook with people in whatever particular town or city they happen to be in. And so I always find it interesting because when you go to a fish market in a different country, you tend to see fish that you don't see at your fish market or at your fishmongers or wherever, let's say in your grocery store in the fish department. And I always have a fascination with that. And sure enough, watching the show, and they have like seafood that's live that isn't live where I go anyways. I never see sort of live shrimp at the market or a live, I don't know, I think they had like live little cuttlefish in like little tanks. And I always find it fascinating because when I go to the fish market here, certainly we have live East Coast lobster because we're close to that where that's fished. And of course clams and mussels and those shellfish that are alive when you purchase them. But that's about it, at least at my fish market. So I always love seeing what's out there. It's just a personal little thing, I guess. What's the thing you like to do, or the, let's say, unusual or atypical thing that someone would think, well, that doesn't seem particularly interesting, but it brings you excitement? Tweet us at Listen and Sleep and let us know what that is. I'd be curious. I'd be curious to find out. Okay, I don't know if I mentioned this on a previous episode. If I did, I apologize. But I'm really, really loving this new thing that I discovered, and I don't know why it ever came to me before. To be honest with you, I didn't discover it. It was my wife who sort of did this. So, in the summertime, we like to drink iced tea. And so, making iced tea involves putting the kettle on, boiling the water, and then putting the tea bag in the hot water, and then letting it cool or refrigerating it and adding ice. And, it takes a while before you have cool tea that you can drink, unless you put ice and then you pour the hot tea on it and you just wait. And at that point, the ice is melted and it's just not the same. Well, we discovered cold brew iced tea. And I think, like if you go to like your Starbucks or all these sort of chain coffee stores, they're all doing these like cold brew coffees and whatnot. And I'm kind of like, whatever. But basically what we do is we fill up a pitcher with cold water, and then we throw 2 tea bags in it, and we just let it sit. You let it sit for about 5 minutes, and you've got iced tea that's already cold. It's not chilled. You don't have to, it's not warm. You don't have to put it in the refrigerator. It'll be room temperature if you leave it room temperature, but you throw the tea bags in and you can put it in the fridge. And after 5 minutes that those bags have steeped in the cool water, you're ready to go. And I know it seems silly. It seems like, well, how long does it really take to boil hot water and do it properly? But it's so much easier. And I will say this, the tea's not bitter. It's not super astringent as some iced teas can be. It's a real subtle, delicate flavor. And on that note, I want to thank you for listening to this, our first solo show. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly had fun recording it. As always, we want to thank our sponsor, Casper. Go to caspertrial.com/insomnia. Check it out. We're recording this particular episode in Toronto, Canada, and as always, the Insomnia Project is produced by Drumcast Productions. Thank you for listening.